Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. Today, we are going to be wrapping up the preseason, making the final roster cuts, and probably just naming our final captains for the season. Um, yeah, I'm going to try something a little bit different with the gameplay. I'm going to try a post-game commentary, so it might look a little different. No face cam in game this time. Just going to see how that works out. But when we're out in the main menus and stuff, I kind of want you to see my reactions to things and make it feel like you're in the office making these decisions with me. So we're going to start off this episode by just taking a look through the roster and making cuts on guys that I see probably won't be making the roster or practice squad. Like perfect example, I think would be Mr. Kyle Allen here, 28 years old, 60 overall. He isn't going to be a practice squad guy, so I am going to go release him ahead of our last preseason game, which I want to use to see, who's going to be our real starters this year. So I don't know necessarily how teams in real life handle this. I know all teams handle it a little differently, but I'm going to be playing a lot of our real big dudes to start probably the whole first half of that third preseason game. So, with that being said, we're going to cut Kyle Allen, and I'll check back in with you when we make some other cuts as well. I think we are going to be releasing Des Fitzpatrick here as well. For being a deep threat archetype, he doesn't have over 90 speed, which is typically what I'd look for. Um, just not practice squad eligible either, 26 years old. I just don't see a lot more he could do for this team, so I am going to release him. But that doesn't mean we won't see him back later in the year after, injuries, and it's a long season. So I definitely think he'll still be one of the guys I target when in terms of going back in case we need receiver help down the line this year. Also, Devery Hamilton, the overall threshold for me is kind of like 60 overall. Any guy under that probably isn't going to make the roster. And then being 26 years old, not practice squad eligible, I'm going to release tackle Devery Hamilton. In a linebacker room that's pretty stacked in terms of inside linebackers, especially. Uh, we'll only be having two on the field most of the time at a maximum. So Tyler Matakevich, who was pretty low on our depth chart, 31 years old, 8-year veteran. I think he helped out during camp, but we are going to be releasing him. I did also want to throw in there that I forgot to mention before. Cameron Sutton, once the season starts, I think I'm just going to move him to be kicker for the first 8 games of the season. He is suspended in real life for the first 8 games, so I want to keep him on the roster. However, I don't really want to risk him getting in the game at all. So he'll probably move to being like a backup kicker, backup punter, whatever, just so he doesn't play any special teams or anything for those weeks. So that will definitely impact how many corners I keep on the roster, considering I love running nickel dime packages and getting as many of these athletic DBs out on the field as possible. So keep that in mind as well as we move forward. I will be releasing Matthew Wright as well. Boswell is going to be our starter. We kind of knew that from the beginning. Um, so Matthew Wright, while he did do a decent job through camp and is a pretty good player, a guy I would like to keep my eyes on in case we ever do need to dip into the free agent pool for a kicker. I will definitely be considering Mr. Matt Wright here as he does have the 95 kick power. But we are going to be releasing him today. Just never carry two kickers going into a season. So he's not practice squad eligible either. So we're going to be releasing him. And that pretty much does it. We cut down the roster by 5 players. Just makes the decision after this week 3 game a little bit easier. Cutting guys kind of makes it a little quicker. And in this last preseason game, we'll get to see more of the guys that will ultimately, be impact players and potentially crack the roster or a practice squad spot. So it kind of gives me the freedom of not putting guys out there who pretty much have zero chance of making the roster or practice squad. But going into this Detroit week, let's break down what our weekly strategy will be for this game and get some of the practice in with some of our key young guys. With the Lions, I am going to be looking to defend their short pass. Kind of just seems like what What would be the most likely thing we'll see most of in preseason? On the offensive side, I want to see what we can do throwing the ball deep. I'm pretty confident in our run game. Short passing is something that's a lot more controllable, so I do want to see what Fields and Wilson can do throwing the ball down the field. Before we start our last preseason game, I did want to hop in and update you on a couple things. I looked at Octagonal Gaming, another YouTube channel. He had a video about a good roster, which I didn't have time to upload before I started this franchise. So I wasn't using his roster that he's using, but I did use the dev trait changes that he gave. So each team had different players get certain dev traits adjusted. And I would like to say that I did not go ahead and give all my guys X Factor. In fact, Justin Fields went down from star to normal dev, and Cam Hayward went from X Factor to Superstar. I think the point of a lot of these dev trait changes was to help the younger players excel faster and have the league, the best players be 26 to 28 years old, kind of like it is in real life. I mean, a lot of guys are even younger than that, and some of the top players at their positions. So that's kind of the point I was going for with that. A lot of other cool dev trait changes that went on that I think were pretty well deserved. I agreed with 99% of the changes I made. So um, that was an update. And then last update going into the game, we will not be seeing Corey Trice Jr. as he was injured in practice. He is a guy that, a very big corner, slot guy. I do see him with a potential spot on the roster, at least as a special teamer with 70 tackle and 90 speed. He's a pretty good and 81 hit power. Could be a guy who potentially sees a move to free safety, but is a very good guy in that slot role. So it is going to be hard to move, to have any guy get cut from this group because we do have a pretty good group. Anthony Everett is a guy at 29 years old who I could see as a potential cut candidate. Cam Sutton is going to be suspended for half the season, could potentially see him, but at 77 overall, he is leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of other of these guys. So Anthony Everett is probably closer to that group of being cut just because of his age. So he's going to have to show out quite a bit in this last preseason game. This will be the starting offense going into our last preseason game. I want the starters out there getting work in, and I will say Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I'm going to have rotate probably the entire game or the entire first half. The second half will be Matt Corral turn to see if he can, see if he deserves a spot on the practice squad. It could be a potential just fourth quarter for Corral. I haven't decided yet, but on the defense, it'll pretty much be business as usual with starters. I doubt we will see much Cam Hayward and TJ Watt, maybe the first, and Minka Fitzpatrick. Maybe the first drive we'll see them, but after that, I doubt we'll see a whole lot of them. But other than that, Joey Porter will be playing, Highsmith will be playing, Holcomb, Queen, and Wilson will be out there. So it should be a fun game, and it'll be a pretty good chunk of our starters out there playing. So I'll see you in the game. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ford Field. The Pittsburgh Steelers traveled to Detroit to take on the Lions in their last preseason game of 2024. Big decisions are coming up for brand new head coach Dominic Backes for the Steelers on what players he wants to keep on the roster, what guys will be moved to the practice squad, and what players will sadly be cut into free agency. Kicking off is Chris Boswell to start this one. Obviously, the new kickoff rules where players will stand 5 yards apart from one another at the 35 and 40-yard line. There is a 20-yard box for the kicker to put the kick in, to have it be a valid kick, and then touchbacks will be um, brought out to the 30-yard line. On 1st and 10, the Lions went with David Montgomery on a 5-yard carry, where Cole Holcomb was shaken up after the play. Another carry for 4 yards. And coming from the medical team from Pittsburgh, the prognosis is broken ribs for Cole Holcomb. That should put a dent into the beginning of his season in terms of how available he is. On 3rd and 1, Jahmyr Gibbs is the running back for Detroit, gets the first down. On the very next play, they dump it to Jahmyr Gibbs, who breaks a tackle and gets near the first down marker. He is off to a fantastic start, and he is a threat when it comes to having the ball in his hands. On 2nd and inches, the throw to Brock Wright is complete. Goff then follows that up with a throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown for almost a first down. Motioning Laporta across this formation on 2nd and 1. He's wide open. The Steelers lose track of him, and he will go forward for a first down where he's eventually brought down at the 21-yard line. It's a 2nd and 10 following that play. TJ Watt gives chase to Jared Goff and brings him down in the backfield. Watt putting an exclamation mark onto what looks like the end of his preseason. Patrick Queen broke up a screen pass to force the field goal, in which the Lions made. Russell Wilson comes out as the first quarterback for the Steelers. He is the projected starter coming out of preseason as of now. Quez Watkins on first down got the end around. However, there was a holding call on right guard James Daniels. That'll bring it back. 1st and 20, and a huge throw to rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson out of Michigan. He's had a big preseason so far and looks to continue it. As on 1st and 10 following the big play, Jaylen Warren breaking through the secondary of Detroit. He is brought down after a great carry. Wilson flushed from the pocket, throws to Roman Wilson cutting across the field, getting him near the first down marker. So far, Wilson looking pretty good today as he's going to roll out, no handoff. Good blocked down in the secondary from Roman Wilson, really looking like a starter right now. As on 2nd and goal, Jaylen Warren is handed the ball. Another flag flies. This will be another holding on right guard James Daniels. Rough first drive for the veteran guard. Wilson now on 2nd and goal from the 16. He's backing up, and that's Aiden Hutchinson who brings him down for the sack. Wilson on 3rd and goal. He's brought down once again, another sack. Zach Frazier, their rookie center, was injured on the play, and Chris Boswell is not able to cap off the drive with a field goal. It'll be Detroit's ball. Detroit going to start on 3rd and 4 here with a screen to Jahmyr Gibbs. That's a big tackle. Really had nothing going before it. However, there is a penalty flag on the field, and it's going to be a legal contact on Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'm not exactly sure what happened as we go look into this replay. It seems like he kind of got screwed over with this call. Amon-Ra was attempting to block him, and he looked to shed the block, but on 3rd and 1, they go to Laporta. He picks up the first down. On the very next play, there's another completion. Jared Goff has been ripping up this secondary so far, and that'll end the quarter at 3-0. Goff, once again, on the RPO, gets it out to Laporta, who breaks a tackle. He picks up a first down and more. Great play by Laporta to hold on to that one and make a play once he's got the ball in his hands. Here's Myjai Sanders giving chase to Jared Goff, forcing him to throw it away. Big 3rd down. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL, gets some space from Everett and will catch that one for the first down. They're going to flip it out to David Montgomery, who is stopped. No, they call it a touchdown. Touchdown Lions if it stands, and it will not. 3-0 back to the score. However, the very next play, Montgomery punches it in once again. Fields will start this drive as it's a 2nd and 8. Fits it into a tight window. I thought that was going to be a pick. Once again, Roman Wilson with a huge catch. He is looking like a superstar in the making early here as LaMichael Pirine with the carry for 4 yards, making it a 3rd and 6. Quick throw to Calvin Austin, who holds on in traffic, and that'll bring it to a 4th and inches. Fields hands off. Pirine going to punch this through for a first down and much, much more. He is really fighting for a roster spot with Jonathan Ward as the last running back, as Darnell Washington makes the catch on first down and picks up a couple. Fields drops back, throws this one for Washington on 3rd and 7, and it's just out of reach, incomplete. Boswell on to attempt the field goal, nearly blocked. However, this one, unlike the first, is good. Goff dropping back on first down, throws it short, tackled just shy of the marker. 3rd and 2, that was Elandon Roberts on the tackle. In coverage, great play by Dante Jackson. It looked like he was burned, but he's able to get up and swat that one out of the air. 4th and 2 turns into a Steelers drive. On 2nd and 10, LaMichael Pirine, following the incompletion, goes for 2. Fields drops back on 3rd and 8, dumps it short for Washington. That's not going to be enough for the first down. They're going to go for it. Aggressive in the preseason. I like it, but Aiden Hutchinson gets to Fields. He's not able to scamper away from his former division rival. Big catch and run. The Steelers can't tackle. He's down to the 1 yard line. Not exactly sure who the receiver was on that play, but a fantastic catch as the fumble. The ball is out. Huge hit by the defense. Steelers recover. LaMichael Pirine on the carry to follow. 5 yard gain. Fields handing, nope, play action. He's going to try and dump it underneath, but that's broken up. 3rd and 5. We hit the 2-minute warning in the first half. Throwing this one, and that's straight to a defender. Fields with his first interception of the game. That'll put Detroit down at the 7 yard line. First play from the 7 is a throw to Laporta as he picks up 6, puts him down to the 1 yard line, and that is Laporta to finish the drive. He really tore it up in the first half. As we'll get to take another look at this new kickoff rule. Cordarrelle Patterson, who projects to be one of the returners this year, along with Calvin Austin, is going to take that one up to the 35. Obviously, this new rule is encouraging more returns on the kickoff, which should make for a very exciting game as Patterson followed that return up with a screen pass for the first down. Russell Wilson on 2nd and 10 is sacked. He goes down once again. Lots of sacks today as that'll make it a 3rd and 17. Wilson dropping back, throws it over the middle, just didn't get enough as he was getting held on to when he went to throw that ball. That's picked off by Brian Branch. That'll give a 1st and 10 with less than a minute for Detroit as he goes down. Goff sacked. Fantastic play by the interior rusher of the Steelers. And the next play is broken up on a pass to Brock Wright. 3rd and very long for the Lions. They go underneath. This is Wright once again, and he's got blocks and a first down. Completely lost Robertson coverage. That sprung him free for the first down. On 1st and 10, KZ breaks up a pass that looked like it could have been a touchdown. That's a first down for Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's been killing us on those out routes today. This one goes to the back of the end zone, and St. Brown kind of got a natural pick. That set him free, and that would end up being the end of the recording as the first half was much better, more competitive than the second half, and I figured I would kind of spare you guys the pain of having to watch the first half, or the second half, excuse me. Lots of interceptions. However, I am excited about the team going forward and hopefully going to get some new sliders. So thank you for watching the broadcast, and I'll send you back to the front office. And that will for sure be a preseason game to forget and a preseason overall to forget. Um, Coming out of that game, we did have Cole Holcomb break his ribs. He'll be out for 5 weeks. I am going to place him on the injured reserve. Um, I don't know if they fixed IR in this game yet to where you can actually take someone off. I think you used to only get like one guy to be able to take off. So we will put him on injured reserve. Trice will be back next week, so he'll be fine for the regular season, and then Fehoko will be on the IR for what looks to be the whole season. So that is currently our situation going into the season. I am going to simulate to our next week, and at that point, we will be looking at our cuts. So I'll see you then. So, according to our offensive coordinator, I had said that yardage would determine who would win our quarterback one job, and Russell Wilson did win the battle, and I do want to start the season at least with him. I would like to have Fields eventually come in as the starter at some point, just because I think there's a lot more upside with him. But I will follow through with what I said, and Fields will be backing up Wilson to start the season. Got a little meeting on the field. It looks like an interview with a reporter. We talk all the time about a team's identity. What can the fans expect from your offense this season? I'm going to be having a very physical run game. We're going to be physical and run the ball. I think our two best offensive skill players are our running backs, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. I would like to average 100 yards per game. I think that should be somewhat easy with the backs we have, and we have a pretty decent O-line, honestly, too. Okay, promise. It says Braxton Jones is on the I or on the trade block. I don't like how it doesn't take you to him. 78 overall on the trade block, huh? What do the Bears need? Center, D tackle, QB? I'm gonna just stay away from that for now, and then we'll maybe see what we can do after the cuts happen. But let's go in and I will update you for each move I make on the roster. I'm gonna be starting by putting Matt Corral on the practice squad as our practice squad quarterback. That will leave just Wilson and Fields on the roster, and I will be naming Russell Wilson as our fifth and final captain. Jonathan Ward is not a practice squad eligible player, and I just felt that P. Ryan was good enough. I am going to be cutting Jonathan Ward. I honestly was pretty impressed with Ben Mason. He will be staying on the team as our fullback. That will definitely limit the amount of people I'm able to hold on offense on the probably either the running back room or the tight end room. Antoine Green, I didn't get to see a whole lot of. I did, however, pick him up to be a guy that can be on our practice squad, and that is exactly where he will go. Our receiver room will consist of Pickens, Wilson, Austin, Scott Miller, Quez Watkins, and Van Jefferson. Really a room looking for an identity coming into this season for sure. My first move at tight end will be cutting Michael Pruitt. I feel like him and Connor Hayward have some very similar skill sets. The similar kind of smaller build, vertical threat style player. So I will be releasing Pruitt to free up about $1 million in cap. And then Michael Ezeki, I will be placing on the practice squad. So our tight end room to start will be Muth, Darnell Washington, and Connor Hayward. On the offensive line, the first move I will make is Dylan Cook will be sent to the practice squad as a tackle. I'll just be using Dan Moore as my swing tackle, and then likely um, a guard will be kind of that third tackle, just in case. Potentially James Daniels being one of our captains should be able to rotate out to that spot. So likely either him or Mason McCormick. And Spencer Anderson will be sent to the practice squad as well. I didn't think he looked good enough in preseason, and I typically like to only carry five interior guys. Nate Herbig, I think, being a center behind Zach Frazier, it'll be important to have the backup directly at center just in case. We did see Frazier go down in the preseason with an injury as well. So that'll complete our offensive line. The first move on the D line will be releasing Isaiah Loudermilk. We do incur a small penalty from him, but as of now, he is the only D lineman, D end, I should say, that will be cut. We are going to be practice squatting Jacob Slade. Mark Robinson will be added to the practice squad as well, as he should be a guy that will be considered to be brought up to the roster, especially with the injury to Cole Holcomb. So if we do see another inside backer go down, we will likely see Robinson elevated. Jeremiah Moon, one of our edge rushers, will also be practice squatted. It was between him and Kyron Johnson. I just liked the 92 speed of Kyron Johnson too much to send him down. So him, Sanders, Highsmith, along with Watt and Herbig will be our edge guys. I did love Sanders in the preseason, so I will really be looking to get him on the field as much as possible. I will be releasing Kyler McMichael. I think I'll have other guys for the practice squad at corner, so he is a guy who I feel is I'm comfortable just releasing. Thomas Graham Jr. I will be releasing as well. He is a player I don't like to release. However, he can't really play the slot as well as I'd like, and he is a zone archetype, which I am looking for man-to-man guys. So I will have to say goodbye to him, as well as his 89 speed. There were just guys with better options in terms of athleticism that we already have on the roster. And last but not least, Corey Trice will be added to the practice squad as a DB. I really like what he brings to the table in terms of a slot corner. However, it was kind of down between him and Ryan Watts to fill that role, and I ultimately decided to go with Watts. Safety Jaquan Amos will be moved to the practice squad. Grayland Arnold will be released from the squad. I wish I could put him on our practice squad. However, he is not eligible. So to keep a four safety room, I want to keep Miles Killebrew on the team. So Arnold will be cut. And that did end up bringing us down to 53 people. Looking at our offense, Jones, Samalu, Frazier, Daniels, and Foutno. That's our line from left to right. Fryermuth will be starting at tight end with Washington rotating in as well. On the receiver side, we have Pickens, Wilson, Austin as our main guys. Miller, Van Jefferson will likely get moved up in the depth chart considering he's a star dev guy. The fullback will be Ben Mason. Jalen Warren, Najee Harris as a solid rotation at running back with a little Cordero Patterson as well. Michael Pirine kept on as a depth piece at running back. Big spot for injuries at that position. Russell Wilson will start the season as our quarterback, QB1, with Fields behind him. On the defensive side of the ball, our D line will start with Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, and Ogunjobi, with Lowry rotating in likely along with Lee and Adams. Porter and Jackson will be on the outside, with likely seeing Ryan Watts and KZ kind of work in as the slot corners. Minka will be our starting free safety with Deshaun Elliott as our strong safety. In the middle, we have Elandon Roberts and Patrick Queen starting. Peyton Wilson has a chance to be playing on more of the passing packages instead of Elandon Roberts. So likely those three will rotate a lot in the interior. Highsmith and Watt on the edge, with Sanders and Herbig rotating in for them. The special teams, we have got Boswell kicking, Johnston as the punter, and Patterson and Austin will be doing a lot of the return duties. Again, specializing, that's our edge and interior D line on pass downs with KZ and Watts, Queen, and then likely Wilson will be added to the list of sub linebacker. Slot, I'm probably going to be starting with Roman and Wilson in the slot. I haven't updated the depth chart yet. Patterson, I think Warren will probably be our third down back with Patterson behind him. Harris will be the power back. And our practice squad is as you see on the screen: Matt Corral, Antoine Green, Ezekiel, Anderson, and Cook, all on the offensive side of the ball. I am going to be looking to add a practice squad running back, D tackle, middle linebacker, edge rusher, corner, and safety. I'll probably be adding another D lineman in the practice squad pool as well. So I'll let you know who I find doing that. I have decided on Tyrion Davis Price to be signed to our practice squad, the 2-year vet out of LSU. Feel like he brings good size, good speed, and athleticism to our running back practice squad room. For our D line addition to the practice squad, I have determined Ezezi Otemowu would be our best option. He'll likely get moved to being kind of that D end role once I get him onto the roster. And I will end this episode by going through some of the last storylines before we play our first game, along with starting by setting our season goal with making the playoffs. We will be starting next episode by assigning our scouts. Actually, I'll end up doing that this episode. We'll see who we end up getting. Let's look through the top 10 prospects of this draft. We have a wide receiver, Mitch Logan from Washington State, an edge in Kevin Holt out of Notre Dame, Marcus Cann, a wide receiver, Oklahoma, Jonathan Peoples, a safety from Kansas State, an offensive tackle from Alabama, another offensive tackle from Notre Dame, followed by two more, Mark Mahoney from NC State, Chris Burton from Penn State, and another, Keith Mathis, both from Alabama, Ruiz and Mathis. Finally, rounding out the top 10 is quarterback Mason Wilcox out of Florida. I'm going to go through and get our scouts set up, and I'll see you when I have that finished. All right, so for our scouting, we have hired 3-star Ted Wilkerson to be our national scout, focusing on wide receivers and safeties. Our scout in the West is 1-star Mike Wilson, looking at interior O-line and outside linebackers as her strength. Lamar Thornton is our central scout, 1-star, looking mainly at the wide receivers and DBs. Our Northeast scout is a 1-star Zach Strickland, looking at the edge players, O tackle and defensive end. And Southeast, we have the same position groups being heavily scouted by Connie Xiao. So Joey Porter has come to us asking on whether he should improve injury prevention or focusing on conditioning and stamina. I think obviously injury prevention is extremely important. However, conditioning and stamina can help limit that in general. So I am going to tell him to focus on his conditioning before the season starts. and he will receive +3 stamina. Time for another media interview out on the practice field, one of our last practices before game day. Going into the season, what area of the team is the strongest? I love our offense, however, I do think our defense is the backbone of this team. So I'm going to go with our defense. What is the strongest? Or our defense is strong. What part of the defense is the weakest? Um, I am a little concerned about our DBs. I think our pass rush will be great. However, um, the DBs do concern me a little bit. Excuse me, I totally understood that. I am a little concerned about our quarterback situation. And if our QB throws 35 touchdowns, that's a success. So kind of accidentally clicked through that a little bit, but 35 touchdowns is a great goal. Obviously, we got our scouts taken care of. We'll finish up the weekly strategy later on. The season is starting. Let's look at our first game. Will be against the Atlanta Falcons. We'll be traveling to Atlanta to play this one, and I will probably do multiple games for each episode. The first one, though, will just be the week one against the Falcons. So I hope you enjoyed the preseason. I know I cut the game a little short. It wasn't that good of a game, so it didn't really end up going well at all. But yeah, thank you for watching. Comment below with how you think the first game should go and whether or not I'm making the mistake of starting Russell Wilson over Justin Fields as our opening day quarterback. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Let's go, Steelers.